There's a little American flag on the box of almost every lawn mower in this country, and the second you see it, you trust it. You picture Heartland steel, calloused American hands, a machine bolted together in some honest Midwestern factory. And these companies are counting on that picture in your head because most of the time, that picture is a lie. And I don't mean that loosely. I mean it falls apart the moment you measure it against the one standard that actually counts. That standard isn't mine, it belongs to the Federal Trade Commission. To legally stamp an unqualified Made in USA on a product, that product has to be all or virtually all built right here, every major part, every real step, with virtually no foreign content. And they put real teeth on it, break that rule, and the penalty runs past $53,000 per violation. So that's our measuring stick. And over the next few minutes, I'm holding it up against the four most trusted names in American lawn care: John Deere, Toro, Craftsman, and CubCadet, and I'm going to show you how not a single one of them lives up to the picture that flag puts in your head. But here's the part that'll stick with you. They don't do it the same way. There are four completely different tricks hiding behind that flag, four separate slates of hand, and once I walk you through every one, you will never look at one of these stickers the same way again. You'll spot the move in about 3 seconds flat. Let's get started. Start with the Green Giant, because if any brand earned that flag, it's this one. John Deere has been an American company since 1837. That part's real, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But an American company and an American-made mower are two completely different sentences. And the gap between them is exactly what you're paying for without realizing it. Walk into a Lowe's or a Home Depot and look at the machine. Deere parks right up front the S100 around $2,500. Most buyers see the Deere on the hood and assume the story is simple. American company, American mower. End of discussion. But that's not how manufacturing works anymore. Deere builds the S100 series in Greenville, Tennessee. That's true. Nobody's disputing it. But where a mower is built and where its major components come from are two completely different questions. A factory address tells you where the final machine came together. It doesn't automatically tell you where the engine, transmission, electrical components, bearings, and supplier parts actually originated. And what are they building? A machine with a molded polymer hood and a stamped steel deck built for residential mowing, not commercial punishment. It looks like a John Deere. It wears the Deere on the hood. But once you start digging past the paint, the story gets a whole lot more complicated. But here's the part that really gets me. Lift the hood and that all-American image starts getting blurry fast. Across its residential mower lineup, Deere has used engines supplied by outside manufacturers such as Briggs & Stratton and Kawasaki on various models. And underneath, the S100 uses a tough torque TL200 hydrostatic transmission supplied by another manufacturer entirely. So before the mower ever reaches the showroom floor, some of its most important systems are already coming from outside suppliers. There's nothing unusual about that in modern manufacturing. Most major mower manufacturers do it. But it's a lot different from the picture most buyers have in their heads when they hear the words American-made John Deere. And that's the real gap. Most buyers hear American company and mentally translate it into American-made mower. Those are not the same thing. Now here's where the word offshoring earns its spot in the title. In 2024, Deere announced it's moving production of certain skid steer loaders and compact track loaders from Dubuque, Iowa, to a new facility in Ramos Arizpe, Mexico, with production expected to begin by the end of 2026. These are construction machines, not lawn mowers, but it shows the direction of manufacturing strategy when cost and scale come into play. Because during that same broader period, Deere also announced workforce reductions across Iowa and Illinois. And it wasn't because the money wasn't there. In fiscal 2023, John Deere posted more than $10 billion in net income. It returned more than $7 billion to shareholders through buybacks and paid over $1 billion in dividends, while CEO John May received roughly $26 million in total compensation. Record profits at the top, workforce reductions at the bottom, a growing manufacturing footprint outside the United States in the middle, and that's where the contradiction lives. So is John Deere American? Absolutely, the headquarters are American. The history is American. The brand is American. But that's not the same thing as an American-made mower. Because when major components come from outside suppliers, when manufacturing depends on a global supply chain, and when production is gradually shifting toward lower-cost regions for certain product lines, that old image of a machine built entirely by American hands starts looking a lot more like marketing than manufacturing reality. That's lie number one. So let's talk about the bull. Toro, the name's literally Spanish for bull, and a lot of folks just assume it's some old American workhorse brand. The company part checks out. Toro has been around since 1914, headquartered in Bloomington, Minnesota, with more than 11,000 employees and over $4 billion in annual revenue. American company, no argument. And to be fair to them, Toro keeps a major manufacturing footprint in North America. It builds, welds, paints, and assembles equipment across multiple U.S. facilities including Wisconsin and Minnesota. This isn't a brand that packed up and left the country. But here's where the wording starts doing a lot of work. Toro often highlights that a large percentage of its manufacturing takes place in North America, not strictly the United States. Because that footprint can include both U.S. plants and operations in Mexico, where Toro also manufactures and assembles certain product lines. So depending on the model, what looks like a made-here story can actually span across borders inside the same supply chain. And that's the first gap: geography versus perception. Now for the part most people never think about. Lift the hood. Toro does not manufacture all of its own engines. Depending on the model, Toro equipment uses engines supplied by multiple manufacturers. That can include Briggs & Stratton, Kawasaki, Honda, Kohler, and in some cases engines sourced through global OEM supply chains such as Lonson. So the mower may carry the Toro badge, but the engine inside it often comes from a separate company entirely. And that's not unique to Toro. Nearly every major mower manufacturer does this. Engines are one of the most outsourced components in the entire industry. But it changes the perception. Because most buyers hear American mower and picture a machine where everything critical was designed and built under one roof. The reality is a layered supply chain spread across multiple companies and sometimes multiple countries before the final product reaches the showroom. Now here's the part that really sharpens the contrast. Toro owns Exmark. And Exmark is one of the clearest examples of domestic-focused manufacturing in the industry, with production centered in Beatrice, Nebraska, where its commercial mowers are built and assembled in the United States. So inside Toro's own family of brands sits a machine that more closely matches the fully American-built image many buyers assume they're getting with a Toro badge, which makes the contrast hard to ignore. Because the Toro branded mower on the showroom floor does not always reflect the same level of domestic manufacturing as its commercial Exmark counterpart. Now bring it back to the bigger picture. Toro is still an American company. It still manufactures significant volumes in the United States. It still employs thousands of American workers. But it also operates a cross-border production system, relies heavily on external engine suppliers, and sources components from a global network. Sitting at number 3 is the Craftsman. Just say the name and you can almost smell the motor oil and sawdust. This is the brand on your dad's socket set and your granddad's workbench, the one with that famous lifetime warranty, the tools you could snap clean in half and still walk back to the store for a replacement. Registered in 1927. Craftsman spent decades as one of the most recognizable names in American garages. If any brand earned that American craftsmanship identity, it's this one. But here's the first hard truth: Craftsman was never a manufacturer. From the beginning, Craftsman was a Sears house brand. Sears designed the specifications, then outsourced production to third-party manufacturers who actually built the tools. Over the years, different companies produced different categories, including Western Forge for many hand tools, Apex Tool Group for sockets and wrenches, and MTD for a large share of lawn and garden equipment. The Craftsman name went on the box, but the factory floor was always somewhere else. So the American workbench identity was never one company building everything. It was a retail brand managing a network of suppliers. Then, the system started to collapse. As Sears declined, it sold the Craftsman brand to Stanley Black & Decker in 2017 in a deal worth roughly $900 million. Sears didn't disappear overnight, but the move marked the end of Craftsman as a Sears-controlled identity. The retailer that built a reputation eventually filed for bankruptcy, and the original ecosystem that supported Craftsman for decades broke apart. Now here's where it gets more modern and more complicated. Today, Craftsman is owned by Stanley Black & Decker, an American industrial company headquartered in Connecticut. The brand still exists across major retailers like Lowe's, and production is spread across a global manufacturing network. That means Craftsman products today are not tied to one factory or one country. Depending on the product line, manufacturing can include facilities in the United States, Mexico, and Asia, with components sourced globally. Some product categories emphasize domestic production more than others, but there is no single all-American Craftsman factory behind the entire lineup. And that's the key shift most people miss. The Craftsman name didn't move overseas. The manufacturing model changed. Now, lift the hood of a Craftsman riding mower. Most modern Craftsman lawn tractors are assembled in the United States, but they rely on a global supply chain for major components. Engines, for example, may come from suppliers such as Briggs & Stratton, Kohler, or Kawasaki, depending on the model and production year. That means the final assembly might happen in America, while key mechanical systems are sourced externally. Now this last one, this is the brand that fools the smart buyer, the one that gets you, the person who did everything right. Because by now, you're sharp. You know to side-eye Deere. You caught Toro's global shuffle. You walked right past that Craftsman display, shaking your head. And then your eyes land on a CubCadet, that rugged, no-nonsense machine that just looks like honest American iron. And something in your gut goes, there it is. The real one. The independent American tractor. That instinct? That's the trap. So stick with me, because this one ends on a twist. Give CubCadet its due, though, because the origin story is real. It started in 1960 under International Harvester as a premium line of small tractors aimed at residential users. The first CubCadet models rolled out in the early 1960s from U.S. manufacturing roots in Kentucky, powered by engines like Kohler units that defined the early reputation for durability and simplicity. For a time, it really was that image people still carry in their heads overbuilt, American, mechanical, straightforward. Then the independents quietly changed hands. In 1981, International Harvester sold the CubCadet division to MTD Products, a U.S.-based outdoor power equipment manufacturer headquartered in Ohio. From that point on, CubCadet stopped being its own standalone manufacturer and became a brand inside a larger equipment portfolio. And then came the final consolidation. In 2021, Stanley Black & Decker completed its acquisition of MTD Products, folding CubCadet into a much larger global industrial group that also owns other well-known outdoor equipment names. So today, CubCadet is not an independent builder. It is a brand inside a multinational manufacturing structure. Now here's the part that matters for the American-made image. CubCadet equipment is still designed in the United States, and a significant portion of its riding mowers and zero-turn lines are assembled in U.S. facilities, including operations in states like Ohio, Tennessee, and Mississippi, depending on model and product category. So yes, there is real American assembly in the system. But it is not a fully closed American manufacturing loop. Like every other major brand in this space, CubCadet relies on a global supply chain for components. Engines across different models may come from suppliers such as Kohler, Briggs & Stratton, or Kawasaki, depending on configuration and year. That means the machine you see on the showroom floor is often the result of multiple manufacturers contributing different systems before final assembly happens. And that's the key shift. Made in USA requires a product to be all or virtually all made in the United States. And CubCadet, like every other brand in this lineup, operates in a reality where design, assembly, and sourcing are split across multiple locations and suppliers. So what looks like independence is actually integration. That's lie number 4, the independence lie. And it hits harder than the others because this one doesn't trick beginners. It tricks experienced buyers. Okay, here's the 3-second trick I promised you at the start. Next time you're standing in front of a mower, ignore the flag, ignore the paint, and read the entire sticker. Because one extra word changes everything. Made in USA is the strongest claim a company can make. But when you see phrases like assembled in USA, made in USA with global materials, or designed in USA, you're looking at something very different. Those extra words are usually where the real story lives. And that's the whole game. John Deere, Toro, Craftsman, CubCadet. 4 iconic American brands, 4 different stories. But the same lesson: an American brand is not automatically the same thing as an American-made mower. The good news? The real thing still exists. There are still companies building serious machines in the United States, and in my next video I'm breaking down the brands that come closest to truly earning that flag, including Bad Boy, Skag, and Grasshopper. So drop a comment and tell me, which brand shocked you the most? And if you found this useful, hit like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one.